Welcome to week 2 of the Good Samaritan program. I hope you found last week to be beneficial and educational. Now that you've completed your coursework from week 1, we can further assist you with your continued success. If you are one of the many Americans drowning in credit card debt, we encourage you to take the initiative, if you have not done so already, and enroll in our debt management program. Let's hear the story from one of the many lives that have been changed through our program.
My financial state before I enrolled in the program was hectic. It was a good amount of debt, credit cards. There was definitely a lot of pressure, a lot of sleepless nights, trying to figure out how you're going to pay those payments and just trying to think of solutions. There was creditors calling a couple times a day, and they weren't really willing to help fix the situation. They just wanted payment. It adds a lot to your stress level. The kind of stress it adds is big on the family. Trying to figure out what you're going to do. Do you need to get a second job? Are you going to see your family at night? Those kinds of things, and that's not even taking into account just the pure stress from trying to make the payment. You don't have it. Since I've been on the program, our debt has come down immeasurably. The creditors are not calling. We've been able to be put on a fixed payment, so you know exactly what the payment's going to need to be, and just to watch the balance coming down. It was never coming down before, so to watch those balances actually decrease every month when you get the statement, it brings a lot of peace. The immediate benefits were the phone calls stopped. I felt I had someone on my side helping me out against the creditor. They were going to bat for me, making those arrangements, and the bank was willing to work with it so that I could keep my financial obligations. As a result of being on the program, we were able to put ourselves on a budget that we were able to stick to and be disciplined with. Also, the payments take care of themselves basically, so I don't have to worry about it other than to just get that statement and open it up and see it, and then it's less than it was last month. That's a big deal. This newfound financial freedom has just taken all the stress off of our family, in that not having to worry where the payments are coming from, if they're going to be made, and if this balance is ever going to be paid off. So it's incredibly peaceful and freeing to not have to really worry about it. It's taken care of.
This week we will be covering the power of budgeting. You learned last week where you stand financially, so now it's time to implement where you need to be going. In this week's lesson, we will cover how to develop a written plan, how to form short-term and long-term goals, the correct way to manage your income, myths and untruths about budgets, the purpose of a spending plan, how to use your budget, and your spending plan guidelines. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome back to the Good Samaritan program. This is lesson 2. I'm Pastor Jürgen Matthesius. It's going to be great, this time that we're going to spend together. Well, in the first lesson, we had a great look at what has caused us to be in the predicament and the place that we're in. Well, today in this lesson, we're going to learn the power of budgeting, seizing control of your finances so that you can put a plan of action together to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Lesson 1, we created a blueprint of our financial standings. Well, we're going to move one step further. And with any step, you need to get a plan and you need to write it down. You need to ask yourself, where do you want to be? This has got to be specific. Start with a goal. Put some deadline and dates together. You need a written plan. This brings accountability to both couples and singles. Proverbs 3 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him. Seek His will in all you do, and He's going to show you the path that you ought to take. Your plan needs to be flexible. Each month you've got to evaluate your progress and determine whether your plan has worked or if it needs to be tinkered with, revised, or retweaked. Make your goals personal, specific, tangible, and above all, rewarding. Don't set goals that are too general, that are hard to measure and are based on trying to keep up with the Joneses. In Luke 14, Jesus speaking says, for which of you intending to build a tower doesn't sit down first and count the cost, calculate what it's going to cost, whether he's enough to finish it? For right now, your financial goal should be something like paying your bills on time, becoming debt-free in X amount of years, saving for a surplus, paying off your house. Writing down goals helps you keep track and makes you accountable. Every time we think about deviating from our spending plan, we'll be reminded that any purchase is going to take us further away from our goals. Keep the process as simple as possible and don't be discouraged if at first you don't succeed. Just pick yourself up and try again. In order to begin budgeting, we must first understand what a budget is. A budget really is money with a vision. It is the practical application of a plan to fulfill your financial vision. I love that. Budgeting is money mastering. You tell money where to go. Essentially, it's a spending plan. It's a tool to help you manage and take control of where your money goes. It's going to help you manage your income and your expenditures so that you can reach your goals. From week 1, you learned a few tools to help you create a spending plan, including your current spending and guideline budget. This is also going to include, your income and expense figures. A spending plan will help you make better decisions on how you can save and how you can spend. Before we begin, let's remove the following 3 items: the tithe, the tax, and the savings. Now let's take a look at the correct way to manage your income. Number 1, the first part is God's. You've got to get that right. When tithing, we've got to keep in mind the first part is God's, not the last, not the middle, the first parts. We just display that we are faithful stewards by returning to Him, and by doing so, giving Him recognition that He owns all that we are and all that we have. In Malachi, God asked, should people cheat God? Yet you have cheated me. But you ask, what do you mean? How have we ever cheated you? You've cheated me out of the tithes and offerings that were due to me. Paying taxes is number 2, and it's a law of the land that God has, put us in, and He requires us to live by this law. Matthew 22:21. Well, then, He says, give to Caesar that which belongs to Caesar, and give to God that which belongs to God. And then number 3 is then pay yourself. Make this automatic so it's not part of your spendable income. After you've taken out your tithe and after you've taken out your taxes, pay yourself and have your spendable income so that you can work out how much you have for your spending plan. So now that you've done that, now that you've removed your tithe, your tax, and your savings, that's from your non-spendable income. Now that you're just left with your spendable income, this is what's left over. Number 4, it's necessary to pay yourself first by fulfilling the needs of yourself and your family. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if anyone doesn't provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Trust me, you don't want to be worse than an unbeliever. So once you've got your spendable income, you've taken care of the tithe, the tax, and your savings, it's important that you take the responsibility to look after your household. Number 5, next you've got to focus on your debts. Psalm 37:21, the wicked borrow and never repay, but the godly are generous givers. What keeps you from being a generous giver is the fact that you are hemmed in by your debts. We've got to destroy debt. You've got to get rid of debt, and you will find the world will smile, they'll be happy, but I'm telling you, they'll do that masking their greed to actually use you to line their own pockets. So many people with credit card debts have exorbitant interest rates that they're paying. We want to smash that to get you free from that entire system. And then number 6, last, use any surplus to help pay down your debts more quickly. If you're now debt-free, pray and plan how you're going to spend any surplus. 2 Corinthians chapter 8 teaches that right now you have plenty and can help those who are in need. Later, they will have plenty and can share with you when you need it. In this way, things will be equal. Here are some of the myths or the untruths about budgets. Number 1, you work too much and don't have enough time to put together a budget. In other words, we're too lazy. It takes more time and work to deal with a financial mess as a result of not having a budget. Number 2, you have to do without. Well, only if it's not in your spending plan. And if it is not in your spending plan, then there's probably a good reason. Continuing to spend more money than you make is a recipe for disaster. Number 3, I can't budget. We've got variable incomes. More than anybody else, people on variable incomes need to budget. Myth number 4, budgeting is only for people who are in financial trouble. We earn way too much to have a budget. Remember what's taught in Proverbs chapter 27. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. Regardless of how much you earn or spend, God expects us to be a good steward. A spending plan will help us be accountable with what we have and know where it goes. Number 5, budgeting hasn't worked in the past. Well, it won't work if you don't stick to the plan. If you stick to the plan, then it's going to work. Good planning always costs less than good reacting. Having a spending plan is going to allow you to define your goals for spending and saving, determine your income versus expenditure, which is really important to help you to map and navigate out the way ahead. It's going to help you to work out any problem areas and assist in developing the plans, strategies, and goals for financial security so that it at last will help you reflect your spending habits so you know where each and every single dollar is going. Keep in mind, a budget will not help stop laziness, immediate problems, or eliminate any decisions you may have made in the past. But it's certainly going to begin to make things turn the corner and work you towards solution and work you towards freedom. It's not a magic eraser. When using your budget, number 1, you should keep it easily visible and easily available. Put it somewhere that you're not going to forget about it. Putting it in a drawer is not the best place for a budget unless you're diligent to look and pray over it on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. You should be able to memorize your budget over time. Number 2, you should make sure your goals are achievable. If you're $100,000 in debt and your combined household earnings are $60,000, you're not going to set a goal to be debt-free in a year. Yes, anything could happen. Unexpected money could come in, and that should be allocated towards your debt. But you should set achievable targets, achievable goals. Don't be presumptuous to set a goal that your current income cannot possibly fulfill. That's not faith, that's presumption. And make sure you set a finish line and a suitable celebration. Once you are debt-free, you want to have a plan on how you're going to invest forward. Consider how much you will earn once you're debt-free. What is the maximum that you're going to keep? What do you need to live off? And then put the rest in a savings plan towards your future. What are you going to give away? Remember to be flexible because families grow and needs continually are changing and shifting, especially over time. Number 3, keep records up to date each month. Set an appointment in your calendar for maybe the first of each month to go over last month's spending plan and then make any necessary adjustments for the new month that you think is going to be beneficial. Remember, a fool doesn't learn from his mistakes. Don't be a fool. Let's learn from what we did wrong last month that we can do right and much better this month. Number 4, be flexible. Make changes as you need so that you can maintain a surplus each and every month. That's the goal. Now let's examine what you're spending versus where your money is going. By now you should have started using your monthly tracking of all your spending to know what you're spending your money on. You should be writing down every expense each month and then categorizing it. This should tell you where your money has been going each month currently. If you find that with your old where you are just breaking even, you're putting yourself in a dangerous place. If you don't have your emergency fund saved and the car breaks down, you don't have funds to be able to cover this, which will result in additional debt because you'll end up putting it on a credit card. The first key is to get your emergency fund in place as soon as possible. You may need to spend less or earn more until you can save your emergency fund. Be sure to track your spending. If you're using a notebook, you may find you purchased 10 items of clothing that month. Then you would add up these 10 totals and transfer the amount to your budget worksheet as one total, so maybe a total of $350. If you're looking back at your past month's budget, wondering how you spent $350 on clothing that month, you can also refer back to your notebook for the specifics. Here are the rewards of a spending plan. Budgeting can become a rewarding process. When you see a connection between your spending plan and your goals and they begin to line up, man, I'm telling you, it's so exciting. That's why setting goals is so important, because you can make sure that your spending plan lines up with the achievement of those goals and the realizing of your dreams. The reality is a budget will help you successfully manage your finances and help you get more of the things you want. Earning more money is not always the solution. Many people with generous incomes are in massive debt and have no savings whatsoever, whilst there are many with modest incomes who manage to have no debt and are able to save year after year. It's all about budgeting. It's all about a spending plan. A spending plan is going to ensure that you have money to reach your goals, that you have money to help you get what you desire. It's a plan so that you have money for the things that you need and want without having to go into any kind of debt. If there's no surplus, you must consider either earning more money or making changes in your living conditions. You may have to consider downsizing your home or selling a car or putting a hobby on hold, etc. And don't use credit cards to make up the deficit. It's important not to delete categories from your spending plan. It may look good on paper that you have a surplus of $800 every year, when in reality all you did was remove the car expenditure item. Do not remove your savings line either. Saving less may be necessary to begin with, but I would say a minimum of $50 a month should be achievable. Consider a few possible cutbacks such as coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, cable TV, cell phone and internet plans, eating out, lunches and dinners. There are families that are losing their homes but still won't go without their daily fix of coffee each day. You know, one cup of coffee can cost around about $5. That's $150 a month or $1,825 a year. If that cutback was made and put towards a good investment rate of 10%, do you know what that amounts to? It amounts to $961,260 over 40 years. If your employer matches you on your 401k, try to keep this going if you can. If not, just suspend it temporarily. One of our certified Christian credit counselors is available to help you if you still can't get the numbers to crunch in your favor. And they're going to help you get a surplus every month. You're assigned a counselor at the start of this program.